What is going on, guys? This is Platinum Point, and I'm here to bring you guys yet again another Weiss Schwarz deck profile. This time I'm going to be doing an update on my Fate Stay Night deck profile, or rather the second version that I promised I would be doing. Sorry I haven't been uploading quite a bit, just been dealing with a lot of personal stuff, a lot of business at work, so I've been my hands have been kind of full with that, so I haven't been able to post or even do videos as much as I'd like to. So I decided, as kind of a promise, or to try to keep up with it, is to kind of show you guys what I got right now for Fate Stay Night, since I haven't shown you guys the other builds that I entertained while building this wonderful set. So this variant is another bar door variant, but this time using the Sakura finisher, the Makiri's Grail Sakura from the current Volume 2 set. So the goal of this deck is basically different from the Saber one, which is to compress as much as you can in order to basically execute your opponent with the 3-2 Sakura or the 3-2 caster restand. So depending on the deck state, you will either launch the Sakura finisher, since if they are on the compressed deck state, you basically rip a large number of climaxes since you're milling 6 and you're pushing damage at the same time. And if they're in a very decompressed state, then you're just going to use the Sakura to compress your deck and allow you to have enough stock to kill them with the caster, since the caster is a pay 4 on reverse restand. So without further ado, let's get on to the deck profile. So start off with the climaxes. We're still running 4 bar and 4 of the Deep Love Door, which pairs with the 3-2. And we're still playing the level 1 Sakura combo. So starting off with the level 0s, we're playing 4 copies of Silver Thread Alchemy Elgin Lead Ilia. So this is the SR version from set 2. I was able to pick up a playset of that. So it's essentially the on-play Azusa for masters. So you discard, check up to the top 4 cards and add a master trait, and this deck is majority master trait with the exception of maybe 4 pure servants in the deck, so you are gonna hit it very likely. So the goal of this deck was to pretty much streamline it to a point where you're gonna hit masters no matter what, and not no matter what, but most likely hit masters and not have to worry about bricking. This is why I like this bar door build, because it's so consistent. Everything just flows together, and you don't have to worry about choke points that much. And then next we play 3 copies of the Peaceful Morning Sakura. So this is a replacement to the Shiro stock bomb, since we're playing red, blue, green. You have to kind of streamline the colors, and the one card that has to get cut that's not none of those 3 colors is the on reverse stock bomb Shiro that goes into memory. So we needed something that functions similar to that. So I decided to play the Peaceful Mornings Sakura, because the on attack ability is actually really useful, which is an on attack. You can check up to the top 2 cards of your deck. Send one of them to the waiting room and then send the other to the top. So if you check one, you could just leave it on top, and then you can swing for damage. So this allows you to sculpt for damage and also clean any potential climaxes, or set up potential climaxes for the door support, for the gold bar support. So speaking of gold bar support, we're playing 3 copies of the Presage Flower Sakura. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that this is a clock bomb, by the way, while the other one was a stock bomb. So they're both essentially the same. But back to the brainstorm, we're still playing 3 copies of the Precious Flower Sakura. So this is your gold bar support and your salvage brainstorm. Next, we play 3 copies of Resolution to Fight Together Shiro. Normally I would play 4 copies of this Shiro, but since we're kind of really tight on color space, and I wanted to play a little bit more utility stuff, this went back down to 3 in my testing. And so far, I've been getting it pretty often since I have many ways to dig for it, and just being able to have an ability to essentially have the staying power of a standby deck without having to use hand encores is nice. And the best part of clock encores is you can early level yourself up to 1 or build compression through the clock as well. Next, we play 2 copies of Keeping to Her Convictions Rider. So this is the Ricky of the deck. So one thing that Heavensfield Volume 2 gave us was a Ricky, and it just so happens that I was able to pull one of the SPs in my prize pack. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to find a way to fit this in, because I was thinking about it when in my testing to play this over the drop search saber, since most of the time my key cards end up usually being in the waiting room. And since this Ricky also has the ability that if damage canceled by this card, if damage dealt by this card is canceled, you can shove this into stock. So it builds you free stock. So it essentially can pay for itself if your opponent cancels, and if it doesn't, you just stuck 1 or 2 damage, which is really nice. And once again, it's a salvage Ricky, so it's a pay 1, send the top card of your deck to clock, salvage a master or servant character. So I play this over the drop search since this gives me more utility. Next, we play 2 copies of Mad Warriors Howl Berserker. This is a 4K oversize that you can play, but mainly we're just using this for the early play condition of the 3/2 Ilya, since this needs to be in clock for it. Hence why we're only playing 2 copies of this. Otherwise, this card's actually a really bad oversize, since it can only restand if you have an Ilya on board. And if it does get reversed, it just goes to the bottom. So there are some situations where this drawback is good, but in most situations you're in a sense of vice gripping this card, death gripping it, and making sure that it stays in your hand so you can always fulfill the early play condition. And then last card for the level 0s, we play 1 copy of the Harsh Words Rin. So this card is actually a pretty interesting tech that I'm playing in the deck. So the first ability is when this is placed on the stage, your opponent can declare either level 0, 1, 2, or 3. Then I mill the top card of my deck. If the level of that card is the same as the level that my opponent declares, I can draw equal to the level plus 1. So mainly this card is there to kind of tempt my opponent to call level 2, because even if I don't get the draw, I'm minusing 1 card from the deck, so it's a mill. And I also use it for the second ability, which is when on play, discard climax, salvage a character. So this is your hand fixing tool, and it's just a really good red spot. I wanted to play a second copy of this, but I'm really tight in space, so I could only fit 1 at the moment. And since the salvage Ricky does the same thing, I feel like 1 is fine, since you're gonna either level up this or the free fresh for your red in order to get to your red. Speaking of level 1s, we play 4 copies of Irreplaceable Existence Sakura, which is your Shimakaze of the deck. So it's an on-reverse Shimakaze that pairs with the gold bar, and it gains 1500 if you have a Shiro on board. So it's a 5500 beat stick, 65 with climax. So you're basically just launching this. Your goal is to hit level 1 first, so you can launch a full board of this while your opponent's still at level 0, and to just get reverses. After that, it just falls off as the game progresses, which is the sad drawback of this card. So overall, I like this card, but it could be better, honestly. And then next we play 2 copies of the Distortion of Daily Life Sakura, which is your on play discard climax salvage a character. So it's the same thing as Harsh Schwarz Rin, but it's also cost 0 clock bomb. So this helps deal with a lot of fair decks by punishing their board states. Or if you know you're going up against a deck that doesn't play 1/1s and you level yourself up to level 1 first, you can play this and force a trade onto your opponent where they have to trade 1 lane in order to basically clear it out. And with the Cheryl Avenger, you're essentially making have the potential to just keep this on board and continue trading with your opponent. Next we play 2 copies of Illusion Magic. So this is a mutual free fresh. This is basically here for the panic button in case some situations you do get more than 4 climaxes in the waiting room at level 1. And there are situations you will get to that situation where you'll get to it, to that 4 or more climaxes in waiting room. So having an ability to free fresh at level 1 to fix your deck state is just good. And it's also can serve as a pseudo Fumio if you're in a really good in a really good situation with your opponent and you want to decompress their deck. So it serves both functions, but mainly just the panic button. Lastly, we play 1 copy of the Complex Emotions Rin to wrap up the level 1. So this is your basically Shaken Megumin backup for Fate. This is the anti-standby Shaken Megumin effect, which is discard this card and 2 other cards to send your opponent's character whose level is higher than your opponent's level to the waiting room. And it's a 1k backup. Now we're on to the level 2s. We play 1 copy of the Execution Orders Rider. So this is the 2/5 Leafa counter for Fate. So I just use that because it's a Leafa counter and I like Leafa counters. And then lastly, we play 1 copy of next we play 1 copy of one of the 3 great families, Elias Fiel. So this is a 2k level 3 assist with the on-play ability, pay 1, discard a climax, salvage a climax. So this is your climax swapper of the deck, as well as your 2k assist. So if you're looking for either the door, most likely, you can pretty much swap the gold bar for a door when you're getting ready to close the game. And it's a 2k assist, which allows you to give your Medea restander the likelihood of hitting the reverse. Then lastly, we play 4 copies of Heroic Rin and Archer, the free fresh level 2. The reason why we're playing 4 is so we can guarantee that we have more red to clock or to level. And since we're just essentially playing traditional 8 gold bar logic with the red, which is you're basically crutching on this to be in the clock to level up in order to fulfill your red requirement. So typically you're running this as a 4 because it's your free fresh draw free fresh, so it's a really good card, no duh. So next we play our level 3s. One of them is Heroic Spirit Caster. So when this comes into play, either from hand or by the change of the 2/1 caster, but we're not running that. So just when it comes into play, you can check up to top cards equal to X meaning the total number of master servants on board. So the goal when you play her is to dig for your door, and she's basically your support, your off finisher if you're dealing with a decompressed deck, since you're most likely going to stick damage on a very fat deck since it's a restander. So that's why I play it as a 1 of. It's an alternative finisher if my opponent's in a decompressed state, since the Icy Tail effects will not usually stick on a decompressed deck. And then next we play 4 copies of the early play Elia, the Mysterious Girl Elia. So if you have this Berserker in your clock, it gets -1 level, and it's on play. Discard a card, send the bottom card of your clock to stock. So this is different from other stock healers where it heals from the top. This one heals from the bottom, which is nice because essentially you get to preserve this to play multiple Elias and heal down. So this is our main healer of the deck, since honestly, this is the only healer you can fit that is master trait, and it's good. And then lastly, we play 4 copies of Makiri's Grail Sakura, which is your finisher of the deck. It pairs with the Deep Love Door. So on play, you can draw 2, discard 1. And with the Climax combo, it gains the ability on attack, put the top 3 cards of your deck to stock. And then the third ability, which is not linked to the Climax, is a pay 3, discard 1. Your opponent mills the bottom 6 cards of their deck, and you burn one damage equal to the number of Climaxes in waiting that is sent to the waiting room. So if you mill 1, you burn 1. You mill 2, you burn 2, and so on and so on. So this is your main finisher when you're going up against compressed decks, because being able to mill 6 essentially has a higher chance of ripping out more than 1 Climax on a compressed deck. So being able to just rip the Climaxes out and push for damage is really just poggers with this deck. And if you're not going up against a compressed deck, you can essentially field 2 of the Deep Loves. Of the Makiri's Grail Sakura and 1 caster with the 2/1 backliner, and you're going to basically load up stock on the first attack, potentially swing with the caster on the second, so you can get the restand, and then you're going to load up cards back into your stock, and then depending on the deck state, you'll do the Icy Tail, or if not, just keep loading up the stock. So that's it for the deck layout. This deck is actually really fun to use. In my testing, this is probably one of the funnest versions of Fate Stay Night that I've played so far. I am entertaining other builds, and I'm kind of testing out how the meta is going to be with this deck. So hopefully I come up with other builds that are just as good as this one. So I hope you guys like this deck profile. I will be doing more videos in the near future. I just got to continue testing this deck and hopefully come up with other versions of it. So the next deck that you're most likely going to see is going to be an update on my slime deck with the new set 2 stuff, since it also got a volume 2 set. So I just want to showcase what I've been doing with slime. And if all else goes well, I will be doing other decks. I have a ton of decks that I want to show do deck techs on to show what I've been playing. So I've been focusing mainly on English, since we're in the English Shop League season, and I kind of want to just get as much practice as I can before pivoting back to JP. So you're going to see a lot of English matches and English deck profiles, and I hope you guys don't mind that. So once again, this is Platinum Point. Don't forget to like, comment, and crack the subscribe button and the notification bell. And don't forget to stay on point, guys. Peace out.